Welcome back. Joining us on the show now is Dilip Chenoy. He's Chairman, Bharat Web3 Association. Mr. Chenoy, thank you so much for joining in. The kind of sell-off or profit-taking that we are seeing in the crypto markets right now, one, how are you reading it? And how would you look at this year end? I mean, one of the things that markets are getting bothered with is that while the Genius Act has been cleared, the clarity continues to be stalled. And with the kind of scenario that we are working with, perhaps could be slightly difficult.
Good afternoon, Manisha, and thank you for having me here. So, Manisha, I think the fall in the crypto market is very similar to what we see when commodities during the risk-off phase. Liquidity tightens, the dollar stays strong, and I think positions unwind. But if you look at the reasons behind this at this current point of time, I think it's the macro tightening and the risk-off sentiment that is there in the market. Global interest rates are remaining higher for longer, and slowing liquidity cycles always hit assets like crypto first. The second is, you mentioned the Clarity Act and the and the other U.S. developments, but I think the regulatory overhang with the U.S. shutdown, the U.S. enforcement actions, and of course the delay in major ETF approvals and flows, and the continuing uncertainty in the stablecoin regulation. And of course, within India, it's the Indian TDS, and the compliance cost is keeping participation muted. The other thing is that, I think the market had priced in the Bitcoin halving cycle early, and the correction is natural. It's a profit taking after a strong 2023-24 rally. And of course, the fourth point is the exchange-related news. But I think the sentiment is bearish to cautious, but long-term on-chain indicators remain strong, whether it's the hash rate or the developer activity or the institutional custody that is being built up. And I think we are in a consolidation phase at this point of time. Going forward, maybe the institutionalization of crypto, ETF, custody products, tokenization of real-world assets, which we have discussed in the past, and the acceleration and implementation of the stablecoin and payments regulation, whether it's Japan, EU, MiCA, the UK FSMA rules, I think, and the clarity will bring capital back. And the Web3 space continues to grow, tokenization continues to happen, so loyalty, digital identity, supply chain will continue to actually enable this to happen. So what's the outlook for 2026? I think optimistic, but selective. Most likely Bitcoin and Ethereum are likely to recover faster due to institutional demand and halving cycle effects trailing into 2025.
Okay.
Stable adoption could be 3x by 2026 as cross-border payments mature. And like I mentioned earlier, tokenized RWAs could become a 3 to 5 trillion market globally. You'll see VC funding revival. Last year was good, but late 2025 to new innovation cycle in 2026.
All right. So, well, of course, there's a lot of justification on why we've seen this sell-off because of risk-off, but the outlook really seems quite bullish. And Mr. Chenoy, that perhaps coming from the fact that we've seen these cycles before as well in the last couple of decades since the crypto has been around. But my other point really is also about that almost the year is over, 2025 is almost done with, and we haven't seen that conversation paper, the draft paper, or a regulatory conversation in the Indian markets begin. Is that something that you see being pushed to 2026 also?
I think India, we have an opportunity in February. We need some TDS clarity on crypto transactions. It has pushed volumes of offshore, reduced retail activity. I think clarity on refunds, off-market transfers, and lowering the TDS would revive domestic liquidity. If you allow setup of losses, it will be a huge positive, initiative going forward. It's interesting, the G20 and FSB influence, India has agreed to that timeline, and we are expected to align with that framework going forward. And of course, we hope that at some point of time, the discussion paper would come in.
Okay, all right. Manisha, thanks very much for bringing us that perspective. We'll take a short break, but up next, we'll get you excerpts from our exclusive conversation with M&M on their growth trajectory and growth outlook. Stay tuned.